everyone, it's your girl Leah and welcome back to my channel. And I am back again with another video. And as you can see from the title, we are back again with a recap review video of Bel-Air season 3. I am so excited. This season is really heating up. So let's just skip everything and jump right into the drama. All right. Okay, so let's start with episode 4. Let's start with Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil because they are really bringing the drama this season. In this episode, she, confided in her friend about what's going on, and she was like, you know what you need? You need a girls' night out, and period. That's what she needed. I love in episodes when they have a girls' night out because it's a different kind of bond. Like, of course, you have your family, you have your kids, your partner, and all that stuff. But something about a girls' night out just really heals the soul, So she went out with her girls and they had a great time. And, she was talking to them about what was happening with the Erica Baker situation. And it was just all great. But one of her friends decided to all of that chef that has been filling Aunt Viv. And Viv, she has been kind of giving the eye to. She decided to all of his pictures on Instagram. I believe his name is Sharif or Sharif, I think, yeah. Sharif. She decided to all his pictures on Instagram, but from Viv's account. So, obviously, Sharif is going to be thinking, something else. So, that happens. And it's kind of just left there. Viv gets home. Phil is waiting up for her. He wants to talk. She's not really feeling like talking. Rightfully so. I love the character Uncle Phil, but sometimes I think that he wants to fix everything right away and make everything perfect, but sometimes you kind of have to go through things and process and then realize okay, this is what I want to do, and now I'm over it and all this stuff. You have to process what happened, and sometimes he just wants to get right through it, and that's just not realistic. So okay, so let's jump into LaMarcus being in the hospital. Now, in the previous episode, LaMarcus collapsed on the field. We didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, oh my God, is he going to die? What's going to happen? He had a heart attack or some kind of heart complication. And it turns out he's been living with this heart disease that he's been having his whole life and he didn't know about. So now he has to get open heart surgery, which... Team open heart surgery gang. Let's just get into his parents, okay? So his mom, I'm not gonna go too in on the mom, but his dad, a piece of work, okay? Let me just say a piece of work. So his dad is a former football player, retired football player. So instead of being a dad who is concerned about his son and the health of his son, he's more worried about if LaMarcus or when LaMarcus is going to get back to the field. So he's like, oh yeah, your agent said this and that. Your son your son actually medically he died on the field because his heart stopped, and you're worried about when he's going to get back on the field instead of worrying about when he's going to recover and heal, get his surgery so he can survive. That to me is crazy. And at first I thought okay, maybe LaMarcus pays for their whole life and his parents don't really have money like that. But his father being a retired football player, I'm assuming maybe he has money. I know he grew up in Bel-Air with Hillary. I don't know. I can't assume that because you can't assume that a former athlete has money still. But I'm what is it? Because I would think that your parent instinct would just snap in and be okay, let me focus on my son and let me make sure that he's good. And I'm not going to get too into the mother because they didn't show her as much. But the father, a piece of work. Don't like him too much. Thankfully, LaMarcus has Hillary because Hillary just wants to make sure that he's good. She doesn't want him for anything more other than him, and she wants to make sure that LaMarcus, not as a football player but as a person, is good and is in good health. And I actually am very happy that LaMarcus has Hillary, although I'm not team LaMarcus. You know, I said I'm team Jazz, but LaMarcus, you know, like, I'm rooting for you. At the end of the day, I don't want to see you die and hurt. And I do think that Hillary in your corner is a good thing. So I'm not gonna lie, they were actually cute. They were actually cute for this episode. So, you know, yay, Hillary and LaMarcus. Woo. Okay, so also throughout this episode, Carlton and Will are butting heads, beefing, whatever you want to call it. Just, you know, the saga continues with them. Like, they're always just going back and forth. I already said that I'm kind of done with this, but, you know, I guess this is just who their characters are. So whatever. The whole episode they're going back and forth, and throughout this, Lisa and Carlton's girlfriend Amira, they decide, like, let's have a beach day. And they both show up to the house and they're like, come on, like, it'll be fun. But really, they're separate in this beach day. It's really Lisa and Will and Carlton and his girlfriend. The main thing I want to bring up with this beach day is Amira. And when they were going back home, her and Carlton was driving, and she was talking to him. And then somehow, you know, they were getting into stuff, and she was making him not look at the road when he was driving. I don't know if I said this in my last video. Amira, I don't like that girl. There's just something just not right with her, you know? And I get it, she's young, she's going through substance abuse as well. I wish nothing but the best for that girl. But I want her to get away from Carlton because she is bad news. She likes the thrill of danger, and Carlton does not need to be around that. I just wish that Carlton just could find a nice girl, but it's just not in the books for this season. And she is going to bring him down. And her doing all that in the car, it's just red flag, not good. Mark my words, this is not going to end up well. So, wrapping this all up, at the end of the episode, Jeffrey knows that his son is hiding something. He's not really sure what he's hiding, but he knows he's hiding something. He looks through his son's stuff, he finds a burner phone, and he realizes, okay, he's been calling this number. So he's like, God, what's going on? And remember, I said that, like, either Jeffrey's son is out to get him, or he has something to hide, you know? So we're gonna find out what he has to hide. And you know, it's gonna come in the next upcoming episode. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into episode 5. Let's start with Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil again. It is their anniversary this episode. The kids decided to do something very special for their anniversary. They cooked breakfast for them. They brought it into the room. And then it was only Aunt Viv in the room when they brought the breakfast in. And they were like thinking in their heads, like, what's going on? And then Uncle Phil came in, and I believe one of the kids was like, it might have been Carlton, and he said, like, oh, why are you not in the bed with Mom? And he was like, oh, I was working late, I didn't want to wake your mom, and, you know, getting into bed, even though it's a big bed, so you wouldn't have woken her up. But, you know, it's whatever. You want to lie to your kids, that's on you. So there's a lot that goes on in this episode, okay? There's a lot to talk about. So while the episode is happening, Jeffrey finally figures out what his son, or who his son was calling on his burner phone, and it was his biological mom. Jeffrey's son has been in contact with his biological mom for like 2 years now, and Jeffrey finds out, and he comes face to face with his ex, the mother of his child, again for the first time in like 20 years, however old his son is. And then his son basically tells him, listen, if it's between you and my mom, I'm gonna pick my mom because I have more of a relationship with her than I have with you. And then Jeffrey's like, dang it. So at the end of the episode, he decides to move both the mother of his child in and his son. And he's like, listen, I guess we're gonna be one dysfunctional family under the same roof because I want to get to know my son and I want to make sure that you're protected too. So that just like wraps it up with a bow. I just want to sum up the Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil situation. So it's their anniversary. They're still at odds, you know, over the Erica Baker situation. And Aunt Viv realizes that her friend, like I said in the previous episode, liked all of Sharif's pictures on Instagram, the chef that's, you know, into Aunt Viv. And she liked all of the pictures. So he DM'd her like, hey, you liked all of these pictures. Are you trying to tell me something? And Aunt Viv was like, what? So she's like, oh my God, let me just forget this ever happened. I'm not gonna DM him back. So then she's at her job and Sharif, I hope that's his name, Sharif just pulls up and he's like, hey, so like I said, you like my pictures? And she's like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And he's like, okay, well, I brought you lunch. And he brought her flowers. And she's like, okay. And he's like, you know, I would love to have lunch with you. So they do. And while they're having lunch, Uncle Phil strolls up because it's their anniversary. And he shows up with flowers and he wants to take her out for lunch. But he sees that, you know, she's having an interaction with Sharif. They're having a little lunch. So he's like, no, it's all good. It's all good. I'll see you later. Here's your flowers, honey. I'll see you later for dinner. You know, she's not doing anything, but it looks bad, you know? Because, like, she's married and this man looks the way he looks. And, you know, later on that night when she gets home, Phil has, like, a dress waiting for her. And he's like, let's go out for dinner for our anniversary. And she's like, just to let you know, nothing happened with me and Sharif. And he's like, no, it's fine. Like, I wouldn't overreact over something so simple and that means nothing. And Aunt Viv is like, huh. So when they're at dinner, she's like, what did you mean by, you know, you wouldn't overreact over the whole having lunch with Sharif thing? Did you say that because you think that I'm overreacting with Erica Baker? And basically, yeah, that's what he was getting to. And they have this whole radical honesty moment. And she's like, you know what? I did think Sharif was sexy. And I did like that, you know, he thought the same of me and all that stuff. And then he was like, okay, you know what? Since we're being honest, you know, I did like the attention that Erica was showing me. She wanted me, which is something that you didn't want the whole time. And she's like, Phil, I'm freaking tired. Okay, I have this job and I'm just tired. And then there's Carlton and it's just a lot. And the thing about Aunt Viv, like, I love her. I do. But she just, I'm not gonna say she's a complainer, but it's always something with her. So like the first season, she didn't have a job, right? She didn't do art anymore. She didn't have a job, if I'm correct. Like, let me know if I'm wrong, but like she didn't have a job. She wasn't working. And it was like, oh, like I lost myself and all this stuff. And then now it's like you have a job and like now you're exhausted. I hope it's more of the Carlton thing that you're exhausted with than your actual job. Because it's like, get it together. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be a working woman or like do you want to be a woman with no passion? I don't know. But sometimes I think she's like very woe is me. And I'm like, Viv, get it the hell together, okay? I love Aunt Viv. I love Uncle Phil. Anyways, they end up working it out. They were like, listen, I know a lot has happened, but like, I still love you. You love me. Let's work this out. They go home. The kids have this slideshow for them, and it's so cute, and they dance to Anniversary, and it's just adorable, and great moments. And yeah, so that's just pretty much how that ends. And I'm just happy that they're back on track, because I love to see Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil as a unit and as a strong couple, and also as healthy individuals. So hopefully they just stay on that track. So meanwhile, in this episode, Will and Carlton are working at the country club, and they're trying to figure out a way to sell these shirts. Will finds out that this big celebrity, Rich Pony, is coming to the country club, and they want to get him in their Black Cess merch, because they're like, listen, if we can get him in this Black Cess merch, then we can sell all out in our merch. And they're like, yes, that's what we have to do. We have to get all eyes on our merch, because he has millions of followers. So they have to get into this pickleball competition and work the competition so that they can meet Rich Pony. And they end up doing that. Also, at the same time, Will sees Jackie, and he's like, I'm sorry, Jackie. And she's like, listen, I know what type of time you're on. You're on Bel-Air time. It is what it is. Bye. And then he sees Jackie, like, this guy is trying to aggressively like push up on her. He protects her. He yells at the guy. All this happens. The main lady that is like supervising the competition's like, hey, Will, take a breather. So at this time, I forgot to mention, at this time, Carlton is having a panic attack, and he had to leave. So it's all on Will to get Rich Pony to get in the merch, okay? It's all on Will, because Carlton, he has a lot going on. He thinks that he's the reason why his parents are arguing or not on good terms. And then there's a lot of alcohol at the country club, and he just feels like, oh God, like I'm gonna relapse. It's a lot. He has a panic attack. He calls his sponsor. His sponsor tells him, listen, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry. It happens. But, like, you can't put too much pressure on yourself, and maybe you should fall back, or, fall back from things that are too much and are putting too much pressure. What he's really talking about, but not trying to say, is his relationship with Amira. Because we all know, we don't even have to know too much, but we all know that's too much, and that's gonna crash and burn. So he's like, okay. So he has a good moment with the sponsor. That's great. So later on in the episode, Will got kicked out of the competition, and Jackie, because she's driving the golf carts, she drove Rich Pony to Will, and she said, listen, you got 2 minutes. You better do what you gotta do. And Will sells him on the merch. He does a video of him in the merch, and it's all great. And Will, he gets the job done. And shout out to my girl Jackie, okay? I know I was a hater of Jackie last season, but shout out to my girl Jackie, because she got it done. And then he tells Carlton about it. It's all great. The videos on social media, they're selling out of their merch. And then Carlton's like, thank you for doing this. And he's like, we're a team, like, no problem. And he's like, and plus you and Ashley were saving whole marriages, so perfectly fine. Okay, so let's get into episode 6. So episode 6, Will's mom is in town. In the previous episode, he was saying how he never spends a summer without his mom. He's been missing his mom. He's been thinking about his dad this entire time. So she's in town. Let's just get into the whole Will, his mom, his dad situation. I just want to talk about that in a whole. So his mom comes into town, and he's like, listen, love you, mom. Love that we're spending all this time and having fun during the summer, but I have something to talk to you about. Like, as you know, Lou, lives in LA now. I saw him, and I just want us to sit down as a family and just like work things out, just talk. And Vi, she gets mad and she's like, no, I'm not doing that. So at first I was like, no, like, stop triggering your mama. Lou, because of what we've seen of Lou, he seems like a terrible guy. I'm like, Lou probably did so much to your mama, probably abused her physically, mentally, all this stuff. Like, no, your mom does not want to meet with her abuser. Let her live. Like, don't put her in this situation. But then Vi has a conversation with Viv, and she's like, maybe it won't be a bad thing. So she agrees to sit down with Will and his dad. I thought this was gonna be a complete shit show, but it wasn't what I thought. So Will is the mediator of the sit down, which is crazy, because why is a 17-year-old kid with his own issues the mediator of his two grown parents? I don't know, but whatever it is, that's what happened in the episode. They ended up getting down to like how his dad went into jail, and you watch, so but what I want to say is I loved how they really humanized the character Lou, because whoa, did I dislike his character. But seeing him in this episode, it just really made me understand his character more and feel for his character. And I feel like they're not going to address this because Will loves his mom, and I know his mom can do no wrong and all that in his head. But I feel like Vi really villainized Lou, and it didn't even have to be that way. No, was he the model citizen or the model dad? No, but it wasn't as bad as she made it seem. Like, the whole situation on even how he got in to prison, like, it just, there was more to the story, and I wish she would have told her son that, so he could have had that understanding of his father, instead of having no idea, no understanding, and really having this hate for his dad. So I really think that the mom could have cleared this up a long time ago, but at the same time, she was going through a lot. She was going through hurt, I'm sure. So at the end of the day, parents are just human, and that's what everybody needs to know in Bel-Air and in the real world. Parents are just human. They're doing the best that they can. Sometimes they mess up, but at the end of the day, they're just, not every parent, but most are just trying to do their best. And sometimes they fall short, but hopefully, they can get a second chance and rebuild that relationship, which is what his dad is doing at the end of the episode. They made that closure, or not that closure, that conversation really did help put everything into perspective. And then he played basketball with his dad at the end of the episode. And the way they did the scene, this is a side note, the way they did their scene, I thought that it was gonna, I don't know what I thought. Immediately I was like, oh my God, is he gonna hurt Will? Is he gonna shoot Will? And I'm like, girl, you've been watching way too much Power. Like, calm down. This is not that kind of show. What he ends up telling him is, listen, what I didn't tell you is I'm really proud of you, son. And it was just such a great father-son moment. And shout out to Marlon Wayans, because he really does play that role so well. Like, the casting in Bel-Air is so great. One, they do look like father and son, and two, the acting, so great. So yeah, that was it. Okay, so also in this episode, Ashley is hanging out with a friend, the little boy that she met in the previous episode, and Viv sees, and she's like a little like, what's going on here? And she's like, no, they're non-binary, don't worry. But when Ashley walks out of the room, they pan to her diary, or like where she writes her poems, and I feel like it's foreshadowing something. I feel like the little boy is going to take those poems and do something with it. Maybe like put them on social media, take them as his own. I don't know. It's going to be something shady in the situation. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's going to be shady. So basically the lady that's running for city council, she convinces Jazz like, no, don't give up. Don't sell the shop. Your uncle put this shop here for a reason, so don't do that. And Jazz listens to her, but here's my thing. Do you have the money? I understand fighting for the community and all of that, but at the same time, business is business, and you're gonna have to do what's best for you. Declining the deal and having no way to pay for the back taxes that you have to pay for the shop doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to him, so we'll see where that goes in later episodes with that. Okay, so this is what I really wanted to talk about, because one thing I love about Bel-Air is how they bring the old characters from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air into the new series Bel-Air. So in this episode, Jeffrey's uncle, it's like his kind of like Uncle Phil, who was the one who was supposed to take care of his son and the mother of his child, but he went to prison. His name is Roman. So the original Jeffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air plays Roman in Bel-Air, and I just love when like just the two universes, they just meet. And it was great to see. It was Jeffrey versus Jeffrey. It was, as a fan of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that made my day. I think that was the highlight of the episode, just to see the two Jeffreys go back and forth. Basically what happened was Roman, OG Jeffrey, told Jeffrey of Bel-Air that they know he's alive back in London, and he has to go back and basically like pay his dues because he killed the leader of the gang. So at the end, he basically gives him money and is like, listen, I'm gonna pay my debt this way. You let them know I'm not coming back. Work it out. And he's like, you know what? I got you. I owe you. They're very cold towards each other, even though it's obvious that they really do love each other, but it's just a very kind of cold interaction. But you know, I mean, considering the life that they came from, it makes sense, so whatever. But he's like, I got you, take care, and then that wraps up that. But just to see the two Jeffreys on screen, like, as an OG fan, that was everything. Well everyone, thank you again for watching this video. I hope you had a great time diving into all the drama with me. I know I had a great time because there was a lot to dive into. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any, and I mean any, of my new videos. Thank you once again for watching, and until next time, remember, you are beautiful, you are loved, I love you, and I will see you again in my next video. Bye. Mwah.